So YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today guys, we're gonna do the showcase for the new Gem Knight supports for this coming September 10th. So we're gonna do the showcase, the tech cards for the deck, the variants, and lastly the one card starters or the combos for the deck. So without further ado, let's pull the Gem Knight cards out. So the newer supports have two main deck monsters and one spell card plus the one extra deck monster. So that would be the Hollow Core, the Nephrim, the Gem Knight Master Diamond Dispersion, and lastly the Dispersion. Alright, I think this one is the alternate art for the Gem Knight Fusion if I'm not mistaken. So first and foremost, let's talk about the Hollow Core. So you can send one Gem Knight normal monster or one Gem Knight Fusion from your deck to the graveyard. Special summon this card in defense position. If this card is in your graveyard, when your opponent activates a card or effect, while you control a Gem Knight Fusion, you can banish 3 Gem Knight cards from your graveyard, including this card, negate that effect, then all Gem Knight monsters you control gains 1000 attack. Then we have the Gem Knight Nephrim. So if this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Gem Knight card from your deck to your hand. So during your main phase, you can immediately after this card resolves, normal summon one Gem Knight monster. Third effect, if this card is sent from hand deck to the graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard and special summon this card. For the spell card, you can activate one of each effect per turn. So you can fusion summon one Gem Knight Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, up to 2 monsters from your deck or extra deck if they are non-rock Gem Knight monsters and you have a Gem Knight Fusion monster in your graveyard. Lastly, you can add one Gem Knight monster from your deck or banishment to your hand. So that is your Dispersion. And now lastly, the most broken card for the new Gem Knight cards, Gem Knight Master Diamond Dispersion. During the main phase, quick effect, you can send this card from your field to the graveyard, special summon up to 3 Gem Knight monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. Also, for the rest of the turn, you are locked into spell summoning only fusion monsters. One downside, but it's not really like a big one. When your Gem Knight Fusion monster is destroyed by battle, while this card is in your graveyard, you can spell summon this card from your grave. With regards to the number of copies, I do believe that 2 to 3 copies of this in some other variants is the way to go. But if you're running pure, just go with 3 copies. For the Nephrim, definitely 3 copies because this is basically your starter for the deck. For your Dispersion, definitely 3 copies as well because not only this extends your gameplay, but also it adds a card from your deck to your hand or from the banishment to your hand. For the extra deck, running 1 to 2 copies on a pure version might be some of a good option, but I think running with 1 copy is enough. The Gem Knights have a knack of like cycling back cards from the banish pile or graveyard back to their deck or extra deck, so running 1 copy might be the sweet spot for this. For the other old Gem Knight cards, we'll be talking about them. So first and foremost, we have the Armadillo. Now Armadillo is definitely on 3 copies. Some people are running on 2 copies on some other variants, but running on this on 3 copies as a pure version is pretty good. This is not a hard once per turn. So when this card is normal summon, you can add 1 Gem Knight monster from your deck to your hand. For Gem Knight Quartz, 1 to 2 copies. I've seen some people run 3 copies of this on another version, but I think 1 to 2 copies is enough. With regards to Rose and a copy of, or the Crystal Rose and the Brilliant Rose, 1 copy of each. If you're running like a rock version for this, for the Gem Knights, I think running like 3 copies of Brilliant Rose and 2 copies of Crystal Rose is enough. But you will talk about it in a bit. So far, the pure version for the newer supports is 1 to 1, or basically just 1 copy of Crystal Rose is enough. But anyways, let's just add that one there. For the extra deck, I do believe that running 1 of each is really good. If you're running the OTK version, having a copy of Ruby and a copy of Topaz is really good because you can copy them with the effect of Master Diamond. Copy the effect of Ruby here, gains the attack from a monster in the field, and then you can do piercing damage as well. Really nasty stuff. And also you have a copy of Brilliant Diamond if ever you are interested enough in summoning this one to the field, plus a copy of Gem Knight Master Diamond. So that's one thing there. Basically, another notable card that you always need to summon to the field is a copy of Gem Knight Seraphinite. You can additionally normal summon or set to 1 monster in addition to your normal summon. For the Phantom Quartz, 1 copy is alright, I would say. You can just cycle this back from the banish pile or from the graveyard. Once this is going to be released into Master Duel, you have 3 copies of Brilliant Fissure by next week. This on 3 copies is nasty stuff. and 1 copy of Gem Knight Fusion, whatever art you might choose here. But yeah, 1 Gem Knight Fusion for a copy of Hollow Core. Scatter Fusion was actually used, and Absorb Fusion was actually used in some other builds, but I think that's to compensate with the 1 copy of Brilliant Fusion in the TCG and OCG. Now we have Brilliant Fusion to 3 copies, so there's no need to actually like run Scatter or Absorb Fusion. Now if you're running in the engine though, there is like, so that is engine that you can actually use with the Gem Knights or with the newer supports. So the 1 card starter to this, and then gaining access to Hollow Core, the 3 bodies immediately that can gain you access to 3 material link summon, and that's basically it. But yeah, that is basically your core list. Let's move on to the tech cards for the deck. Okay, so for the tech cards for the new Gem Knight deck, depends on the variant that you're playing. So first and foremost, we have here Arch Nemesis Protoss. The Nemesis cards are really good with the Gem Knights because Gem Knights really want to banish cards from their graveyard to the banish pile, especially if you have Hollow Core. So we capitalize on Nemesis Flag and Nemesis Corridor for this. By means of accessing these 2 cards here is 1 copy of Eternal Flame Banshee. So you add 1 Pyro, typically you just get the Nemesis Flag on the field, gain you access to a copy of Corridor, and once Corridor is on the field, you can go into a copy of Colossus. Oh, I forgot to add Colossus here. So Colossus is also another good card to actually have from the Corridor. Or you can gain access to the Protoss with the Nemesis Flag. That is still 1 good card to actually have. Call Dark, since you're dealing with Malice nowadays, that is a pretty good card to have on the field, floodgating your opponent. One other thing, by next week, we have Block Dragon back to 3 copies. So this might be another good variant that you'll be playing alongside Adamancipators or even the Vernosilp. The Vernosilp is another good deck as well that discards card and then spell summons 1 from the graveyard. Or with the Adamancipators, summons another body from hand. Or if you control a rock monster, you can spell summon a body and then you can synchro your way up to higher levels. Next up, we have Foolish Burial, and like we talked about earlier, Nephirim is a pretty good card to have. Not only that, we have also if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 fusion monster from your graveyard, or also you can have Hollow Core sent to the graveyard with the effect of Foolish Burial. We have a copy of Pramite Roar. Now the best thing about this is this works too well with your Gem Knight vanilla monsters. So the Garnet and a copy of Tourmaline is one other thing that you can add to your deck alongside the Roar. And then we have Angel Statue Azure Rune. So if your opponent spell summons a monster, you can negate the summon, and if you do, destroy that card. You can gain access to that with a copy of Silhouette Rabbit. For the extra deck, we have a couple. So disregarding a copy of Silhouette Rabbit or a copy of Colossus, we also have a copy of Gallant Granite. So if you're working with rock monsters for the Gem Knights, this is another good card to actually have. Or if you're working with Adamancipators as well, alongside Gem Knights, this is another good card to actually have. Then we have a copy of Eternal Flame Banshee for your level 4s. And since level 4s are quite easy enough to normal summon to the field, so this is one of your best choice as well. And if you banish a copy of Banshee, you can have that one on the field if you have to banish it with the use of Protoss as well. So another good card. And lastly, we have Sprite Sprint to dump a copy of your Crystal Rose from your deck to the graveyard. So these are the tech cards that I managed to compile so far in the web. Tell me if ever I missed something here for the tech cards. Tell me in the comment section below. That would be much appreciated. So with that is your Gem Knight tech cards. Let's move on to the variants for the deck. For our variants for the deck, this is the pure version that I've managed to make so far. We have here the 3 copies of Hollow Core, the 3 copies of Lancia, since we're still in the format of Ryzeal and Malice. So this is one of the best cards to actually have against Malice. Non-engine, Ash Max C, your anti-hand traps, cold buys, crossouts, some board breakers, Forbidden Droplet, and oh yeah, Infinite Impermanence, and a copy of Triple Tactics Talent. For the extra deck, 1 copy of Lady Rose, 1 copy of Prismora, a copy of Aquamarine, Seraphinite that we saw earlier. The newer cards, Lightless Shadow, because we can gain access to Masquerina here. 2 copies of Phantom Quartz. You can run with 1 copy here, but so far 2 is I don't know. I just wanted to run 2 for this in case 1 is going to be removed. And then 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, since you need a Fiend monster to go into a copy of your Lightless Shadow and to gain access to your Light and Dark monster from the graveyard to the field. So, and oh yeah, an additional pop as well from the Lightless Shadow. You can work your way with the Silhouette Rabbit if you wish, but so far this is my version for it. You can add that one if ever you like, so for additional interruptions, but so far, yeah, this is my version for the Gem Knight pure version. Let's move on to the other variant. Okay, so this is another version that I researched so far. So this is with Shaddoll. I think I got this from Master Duel Meta. The 1 copy of Neshadal Genius, 1 copy of Dragon to pop 1 spell or trap. The 1 flag, no copy of Corridor, but we have a copy of Protoss here just for the effect. And Banshee, 2 copies of Master Diamond Dispersion. I think I'm just gonna remove 1 copy of Master Diamond here, or Master Diamond Dispersion here, and add some other useful card, or yes, maybe a copy of Baguska maybe. But yeah, 1 copy is enough. But like I said, you can just cycle back the Fusion Monsters or the Gem Knight cards from your graveyard back to your extra deck or your deck, so it's not really like a big problem. But so far, 1 Winda, 1 copy of Construct for the extra deck, and the rest is just basically a mix and match on what cards you want to add for the deck. That is your Gem Knight Shaddoll. Deck list will always be in the comment section below. Let's move on to the next variant. Alright, so this is a bit more of a modernized version for the Gem Knight Fiendsmith. As all of you might know, Fiendsmith is still on 2 copies for Engraver, 1 copy of Lacrima. We still have also the Desiree in our extra deck here, so it is going to be added here. We're not running any Lancias here, but you can remove the Full Wallows for the Lancias, or you can just turn these 2 cards into a copy of Lancias. It's up to you. But anyways, that's basically it. That's your Fiendsmith version, and like I said earlier, deck list is gonna be in the comment section below. So let's move on to our last variant, and let's move to the combos. This is the last variant for the Gem Knight deck. Now, Gem Knights has a good Go Second build so far. All you need to have is some good Go Second cards. So Phantasme, copies of Foalos or Perlias are gonna be your best thing here. And a copy of the Ultimate Slayer plus Lightning Storms are your best way of going second. Copies of Forbidden Droplet as well, with Thrust and Talents. But anyways, that is your variants for the deck. Let's move on to the combos. Alright guys, so here we are with the replays. Now these replays are very much straightforward and the end board is almost identical. So these are just 1 card starters that you can do with the card and then establish the board. It differs on 4 occasions, including with the Gem Armadillo. And of course, if you have more cards in hand, then practically you can extend to more of your plays. But anywho's, we're gonna start off with the 1 card starter with Armadillo first. So with Armadillo, you go normal summon Armadillo, gain us access to Hollow Core. Hollow Core, dump Gem Knight Fusion to the graveyard, spell summon it, link off into Phantom Quartz. Phantom Quartz gains us access to Dispersion. Dispersion activate. Dumps a copy of... Dumps a copy of Quartz and Nephirim. And then Spiral summons Seraphite on the field. The reason for Seraphite is because of the extra normal summon. With this, Quartz in the graveyard bounces back a copy of Nephirim from the grave to hand. Nephirim normal summon gains us access to another copy of Dispersion, and then gains us access to Armadillo. Use the effect of Nephirim, normal summon Armadillo, and Armadillo gains us access to another copy of Nephirim for a follow-up next turn. Now, the reason why we get Dispersion rather than the actual Gem Knights itself is because we need to fuel our graveyard with the effect of Hollow Core. So this states here that you need to have like 3 Gem Knight cards from your graveyard to banish to negate a card effect. So with this, you use the effect of the Gem Knight Fusion, banishing 1 Quartz in the graveyard to bounce it back to our hand. Then we use the monsters on the field to go into a copy of IP Masquerena. Use the effect of Quartz or Phantom Quartz, spiral summoning a copy of the new Fusion monster, Master Diamond Dispersion. And with the two monsters on the board, with the Seraphine Knight and the Phantom Quartz, we link off into a copy of Nightmare Phoenix. The reason for Nightmare Phoenix is because this is a fiend, and the next card we're going to summon to the field is going to be a copy of Lightless Shadow. Lightless Shadow, dump a copy of Gem Knight Fusion, and technically Gem Knight Fusion isn't a hard once per turn, so we can just banish another card from the graveyard to have it back in our hand. Banish the Lightless Shadow, spell summon the Masquerena to the field, and with the use of the Master Diamond Dispersion, spell summon 3 bodies from the graveyard, extra deck, to the field. So we go Seraphine Knight, a copy of Aquamarine, and a copy of Rose Diamond. The effect of Aquamarine is pretty good. If you use this without IP Masquerena, once this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one card your opponent controls, return it to the hand, so a pretty good bounce. And plus, you have a negate in the graveyard with a Hollow Core, which is very, very important. This board isn't that much. Plus, of course, you have the end board with the Lightless Shadow to pitch one card to the graveyard and then pop one card on the field, or spell summon another light or dark monster from your graveyard still. So, in the end phase, spell summon Lightless Shadow, and that is technically your board right there. If you have more cards in hand, then technically you can establish more of your plays if ever you have to. Plus, the 2 level 4s a while ago, you can go into a copy of Banshee to gain access to your Nemesis cards, to a Protoss, or even to a copy of Colossus on the field, if ever you can. But this is just typically the combos that you can do with the 1-card starters. So with that, that is Armadillo. Let's move on to the next combo. Okay, so for the next combo, we have here the Nephirim. So this is our starter here. So let's start with Nephirim first. Gains us access into a copy of Dispersion. Dispersion activate. Gains us access to Armadillo. Use Nephirim's effect. Normal summon Armadillo. Armadillo get as Hollow Core. Hollow Core, dump Gem Knight Fusion. Spell summon to the field. We link off the 2 bodies of Hollow Core and Nephirim. And that is your Quartz with the 3 materials that you can banish for a negate. Quartz gain us access to the second copy of Dispersion. Fusion summon into a Seraphine Knight for the extra normal summon. Quartz in the graveyard, bounce back a copy of Nephirim. Since we already used the effect, this is just a follow-up for next turn. But yeah, we go for normal summon, or the last normal summon. Banish the Quartz, gains us access to Gem Knight Fusion, and then lastly, we go into the Phantom Quartz. So there we go. And like I said earlier, it usually has the same end board, just with a different one card starter. So that's it. Banish the Lightless Shadow, spell summon one other body, and go for IP Masquerena. So it's still the same thing though. Doesn't really matter what cards you actually do first, but as long as you have the cards in the graveyard for the fusion summon, which is quite important, and that is basically your board right there. So that's basically your 1-card starter for Nephirim. Let's move on to the other 2 combos. Alright, so for the third combo, we have here the Brilliant Fusion, and like I said earlier, the Brilliant Fusion will be on 3 copies by next week, so this is going to be very much useful on a 1-card starter. So we go first with Brilliant Fusion, fuse into a copy of Seraphine Knight, dumping the same cards that you have earlier, so Quartz and Nephirim. Quartz bounce back, Nephirim normal summon. Use the effect or just a typical normal summon. Go for Dispersion for Armadillo. Nephirim, normal summon. Armadillo, spell summon the core. And then spell summon the core. Link off. And then you have the materials already in the graveyard for a card negate, which is pretty good. Phantom Quartz again. Gains us access to another copy of Dispersion. Dispersion activates. Fusion summon into a copy of Lady Rose Diamond. And then link off into a copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Bounce back one, or banish 1 Quartz and bounce back a copy of Gem Knight Fusion. Fusion summon into Master Diamond Dispersion. And with the 2 bodies on the field, you go into a copy of IP Masquerena to a copy of Lightless Shadow. Or either way. So yeah, that's basically the same thing. Dump that. We'll summon a body. Go for IP Masquerena. And then lastly, use the effect of Master Diamond Dispersion. Spell summon the bodies from the graveyard and the extra deck to the field. There you go. The same cards that you want to have on the board. There you go. So pretty much another way to do this. Plus you have the 2 hollow core in your graveyard for the negate. So that is with your 1-card starter for the Brilliant Fusion. Let's move on to our last combo. Okay, so for our last combo, we have here just the Gem Knight Dispersion. So let's start. Dispersion first gains us access to Armadillo. Armadillo activates, gains us Hollow Core. Hollow Core pitch in Gem Knight Fusion, Spell Summon to the field, link off into Phantom Quartz, gains us access to another copy of Dispersion or a monster, either way. But for this, let's go for Dispersion. Dispersion, Fusion summons into the same thing, Seraphonite, dumps Quartz and Nephirim. Quartz activate, get Nephirim, Neural Summon with the effect of Seraphonite, gains us access to 1 more card. Now with this combo here, we need a copy of Brilliant Rose, or you can have the effect of, I think the Brilliant Rose is the one that can be spell summoned from the hand though, so either way, that's still pretty good. Brilliant Rose or Crystal Rose is the other one that can activate in the graveyard, but for this, just go for Brilliant Rose. Use the effect of Nephirim, normal summon. Send another card to the graveyard. You can just revive it back with a copy of Master Diamond, either way, so it's not really like a big problem. Go for a copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Use Phantom Quartz to fusion summon into Master Diamond Dispersion. There you go. And with the bodies of the field, you go for the same thing. Like Light the Shadow. Banish. Spell summon another body. Go for IP Masquerena. Then bounce back again. Gem Knight Fusion for the discard. There you go. I think I forgot the discard though to have Gem Knight Fusion back to hand by the end phase. But anywho's, that's everything else that you need to know about the deck, the tech cards, the variants for the deck. But so far, what are your thoughts on the new Gem Knight cards? We'll be talking about the next archetype, which is Magistus. So possibly we can do this one on a Monday or what. And that's it basically for today, guys. Keep safe, good luck. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.